Whoa. 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 See if we can do this. Hey, everybody. Check, check, check. Let's do this and this. Alrighty then. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to episode number 131 of Mike in the Midwest, a mini podcast for the amazing patrons just like you of the Be Our Guest podcast. Of course, my name is Mike Rallman, host of the Be Our Guest podcast. You can find me on the socials at Be Our Guest Mike. Check me out on Twitter and Instagram. I'd love to see you over there and interact with you. I got lots of great pictures and videos. I did some reels as well from down at Marathon Weekend on my Instagram right now. So it'd be a great time to check that out. Again, over at Be Our Guest Mike. And don't forget to check out the podcast Instagram if you have not as well. It's at Be Our Guest Pod. And if you watch live on our videos, if you record, you will see the number update right over my shoulder here with the social media metrics that I have on my new clock and this digital device here. It's an 8-bit clock, which I like, which is it's a Internet of Things device, which I don't have a whole lot of, but I just kind of splurged on that with a gift card I got over Christmas, and I love it because it changes with our social media metrics. So if you like our Facebook page over at Be Our Guest Podcast on Facebook, right now that's updating 10,155 fans. If you update that, then the number will change over my shoulder. So that's pretty cool. Kind of just a fun Christmas present I got with a few Amazon gift cards. And I've always wanted that. And I finally had the means to get it with some gift cards from my brother and sister-in-law, one over at the Magic for Less from working there and stuff like that. So it's pretty fun. All right. I hope you're doing well. Hope you're having a great start to 2023. Glad to be back in the studio as I have not been here for a week and it feels like a month because with doing as many shows as we do here, having a day or two or, 7 days without doing a show feels like an eternity for me because you guys know I love being behind the microphone. I love talking to you frequently and finding out what's going on, answering your listener questions, hearing about what you are excited about, the news of the day. And I love having this mini show with kind of our core group of fans to kind of see what's going on behind the scenes with the show. So again, hope you're doing well. The weather looks like it's been pretty good most parts of the United States, except for folks out in California. I know you're having severe rains, massive flooding. So I am praying for you guys out there, but just glad that we're doing well. I'm so glad to see that Buffalo Bills football player has recovered. That was a miracle. That happened right as I was getting ready to head down to Marathon Weekend last week. Hope you're doing well. Well, it's been a heck of a week, and a lot of news has happened since we talked last. Of course, today we're going to basically talk about some brief thoughts on Marathon Weekend because Scott and I are going to get together for Friday's podcast, and we're going to give reflections on. We're going to go, talk about the races. We're going to talk about the expo because the expo was a mess this year, and we'll talk about why. We'll talk about some of our dining. I went to Citrico's for the first time. How about that? It's fancy Citrico's. And I had a filet mignon. Because what do you get there? I don't know. A filet mignon. I know that's a fancy steak. It was super good with fancy potatoes. They called them potatoes puree, but all they were was mashed potatoes. I had that to celebrate Dopey. That was Sunday night after running the full marathon. Let's see. I had my first old fashioned. That was kind of fun. That was tasty. Very tasty drink. Scott did well there. We also had little kid desserts. We ordered off the kids' dessert menu there, which was fun. But we'll talk about all that with Scotty G on Friday's show. But so staying by for that. We're gonna either record that later tonight or Thursday night because Wednesday night I record the trip report shows for Mondays. So we got to figure out how to get this all done because I'm buried in work. Of course, I was out of the office for 7 days, so I'm trying to catch up. It's crazy, and you got to get the show out by Friday because I want it to be fresh. And how about the news that we got today? We got all kinds of news. Harmonious going away, and I gotta say, and I respect everybody has different opinions on fireworks shows and parades and attractions. This is what makes Walt Disney World great. It's what makes the world great, right? I always say different strokes for different folks, and I believe that. But I was a Reflections of Earth Illuminations fan. I just never could get behind Harmonious because I'm not a movies fan, and that is definitely a show that lends itself to folks that know the movies. It's got great music. It does. I mean, I did like the music, but I felt that show was way too long and it never grabbed me. I saw it 3 times, different spots. I even saw it dead in the center, and it just never got me excited about the show. So I am glad that it's going away. More importantly, I'm glad that the Harmonious barges, the big tacos, are going away. That has been confirmed. At least that's what they're saying on social media. It's been confirmed that we're getting rid of the barges in World Showcase Lagoon. We'll have our beautiful views back across the lagoon over to American Adventure Pavilion, across to Japan and Italy and Germany. You know that's one of those things that we didn't know we loved it so much until it was gone. But I think it's gonna be like, I compare this to when they took the wand off of Spaceship Earth. I didn't really mind the wand on Spaceship Earth. I thought it was very Disney because it was Mickey's hand, right? It was, you're at Walt Disney World. It's Mickey's hand. Big deal. But then when they took the wand down and you got to see Spaceship Earth just as it was intended, it looked right. It looked awesome. So I think it's going to be kind of for all of us that have been going to Epcot for quite a while, it's going to feel right just to have World Showcase Lagoon just with its, it doesn't need anything else. It doesn't need enhancements. It just is a body of water that symbolizes, it's you got the 11 countries around a body of water. It's kind of a mini Earth. And so I'll be glad to go back to that. We're getting Epcot Forever back, which is going to be awesome. I believe that starts April 3rd. Third time around for that show, which was a very temporary show. Yeah, it's not the greatest show in the world, but I really did enjoy it because I am a retro Epcot music fan. I mean, this is a show that is geared towards me. I know it's not geared towards everybody, but I know Dr. Kai, this one's for you, buddy. Because we've seen it together. I believe we were there because I know we were there as Illuminations ended. We were there for the last show. And it's just great to hear, veggie, fruit. I mean, playing again, and, some of the old Universe of Energy stuff and World of Motion, stuff like that. Like that music is timeless. It is, especially for Disney geeks. It's perfect. So we're going to get a little bit of hit of that nostalgia again, around World Showcase Lagoon, which I could not be more excited about. Maybe they'll enhance it or change it a little bit from the last time around. I mean, they got time. It could be slightly different. Who knows? But I'm excited to have Epcot Forever coming back. And how about this? Breaking other news. Happily Ever After comes back on April 3rd. And yeah, that one is exciting because I didn't really mind Enchantment. I was not an Enchantment hater. I thought it was okay. It was fine. It was a Magic Kingdom fireworks show. I liked Wishes better, but Enchantment was okay. I really liked Happily Ever After. Now, the thing was, I didn't like Happily Ever After as much at the beginning, but it grew on me. In that song with the singer Jordan, I can't remember his last name, but that song really grew on me, and it really grew on me because Mallory embraced that song. What I found out was that Happily Ever After kind of became Mallory's fireworks show. That when we got back from Walt Disney World vacations there for a period of time, she has an Amazon Echo in her bathroom. We have them all over the house. The little dot thing, and she would play music on it while she took a shower, and she would play the Happily Ever After song every night when she got in the shower, and she would sing along to it. As a Disney fan and as a dad, that just makes you happy, right? That means that she had a good time on the Disney vacation. She wants to hear the song again. She's singing to it. That's making my heart full every time I hear that. So now that I get to know that that show's coming back and I'll get to watch that show with Mallory again, that's going to be awesome because that is a really good show. I mean, is it the best show ever? Probably not, but it's a top three. It's really good. And it just got in that song. It's just happily ever after. I shouldn't sing, but it's just it's I mean, it's what it's all about. I mean, what do we go to Walt Disney World for? We're dreaming about our happily ever afters. It's very cool. So excited for that. But how about the big news? Do 4-4. I don't know if you saw the Disney Parks blog, but they killed it today with the announcement. Tron Light Cycle Run is coming out on it's going to open to the general public, hopefully on April 4th, 2023. And I loved what they did with their announcement again because I have this little 8-bit clock thing behind me now because I'm an 8-bit guy. I spent hours of my life playing Pac-Man on the Atari 2600 and Asteroids. And for Christmas, I think I mentioned that I got for my girls, they got me a Nintendo Switch because I wanted one game. I wanted the Atari 50 collection so that I can and I can play those old games like Super Breakout and Pong and Asteroids on it. Makes your heart beat real fast. Yeah, it's one of those things. So when they made the announcement, it was so clever of what date that Tron was going to open. If you haven't seen it, go look at it. They had those light cycles that came right out of the old video game from the 80s, driving around on the grid. But what they drove around in were they drew a path of 2 fours, 4-4. It was I mean, as a retro fan and a Disney fan, it is. I mean, they nailed my two fandoms right there in like 30 seconds. I was like, oh, give the person who made this promo a raise. It's perfect. So we have a date. I mean, it's not that long either. I mean, think about it. We're already almost halfway through January. That's going to be the very beginning of April. So you want to get those theme park reservations now because you can book those now. Remember, that's not 60 days. That's now. So get your room reservations. If you need one, let me know. I know a travel agent that can hook you up. So we have, exciting news, 2 new fireworks shows. We don't know the new replacement coming to Epcot yet, but we'll have Epcot Forever early April, Happily Ever After early April, Tron Light Cycle Run April 4th, early April. So yeah, it's going to be a fun time, especially for folks going down for Spring Surprise. Surprise, you're going to have a lot of new experiences for that race. And so it'll be a lot of fun. So yeah, we're super excited for that. And yeah, that's what's kind of happening around here. It's going to be a shorter show today because one, I'm exhausted. Just got back super late last night. Been working all day. I mean, everybody works all day, right? But you know how it is that first day back after being out of the office for 12 days. 12 days. It wasn't 12 days. It was 6 days. But it felt like 12 days. But I also want to send a huge shout out to Michelle and Kathy over at the Magic for Less, my colleagues who took care of my guests while I was gone. I could not go to any of these races without my colleagues like Ben, Michelle, Kathy, Jeanette, Jocelyn, who helped me out and cover for my guests when I'm gone. They're amazing. But Michelle and Kathy stepped up over this marathon weekend and did a tremendous job for my guests. I appreciate them so very much. I hope they, I just appreciate them so very much for allowing me to get to go down to the races. So let's see. We got feedback from last week's show. We just had one piece of feedback. I just talked about getting ready, the anticipation, the excitement, the nervousness before Disney vacation. Trisha Hellwood, my good friend up in Wisconsin, says we had some family over and played games. We're talking about Christmas. We had dinner and watched a movie, and everyone was gone by 9 p.m. I channel my inner 90-year-old when it comes to fireworks. I was so happy it was raining New Year's Eve because no one could shoot them off. Okay, we're talking about New Year's Eve, not Christmas. Trisha says, you're a hard worker and it's greatly appreciated. You're the best travel agent I've ever worked with, but hard work can look different depending on the situation. When I broke my foot, I had to turn to swimming. Just because I wasn't sweating doesn't mean I wasn't working hard. Walking is a great low impact option. Can't wait to hear about the trip. Thanks, Trisha. I appreciate that. That's very kind of you. I mean, with the travel agent stuff, I always give 100% effort. I know I can't get back to everybody within an hour or two, which is always my goal. But I try. I promise I try. And especially if you're a patron over here, trust me, you guys always go to the top of the pile. Jennifer Perry, I know, sent in a quote today. Boom, right to the top of the pile. I appreciate that so very much when I see that. But I mean, I try to give every person, new guests, somebody that's not even listening to the podcast, I try to give everybody, a first class effort and experience because The way I've seen this whole travel agent thing since the first day Pam let me book trips, 12 years ago or so, is that I've thought about it as I want this to be an extension of Disney, right? Because I'm booking Disney trips. And most of the time when I go to Walt Disney World, I get amazing service. Sometimes it's average, but most of the time it's great, amazing Disney service. And that's what has me coming back. But sometimes I get just over the top outstanding service, and that's what I tell people about. Like, I come home and I'm like, "You will not believe what happened this one time when I checked in at Riverside, and this cast member just took care of me, asked me questions, gave me an upgrade. Not that I expected an upgrade, but, I got a special upgrade or I got, just some little, just attention. I wanna give that to my guests at the Magic for Less. I wish I could give you upgrades. I can't. I can only give what I give. But, I wanna make sure that, I'm timely, I'm thorough, and that I want you to always know that I appreciate you reaching out and letting us book that trip for you because that does support the podcast. It supports my family. It allows me to be able to podcast and not have to, work as a teacher anymore because I couldn't do all this and teach as well. So thank you, for that, and I appreciate that. Okay, so I said this is gonna be a shorter show because things are kinda crazy today, but I want to get a show I didn't want to skip this week. So quick thoughts on marathon weekend, kind of behind the scenes. I just wanted to talk to you guys about something. I want to talk to you about the word team, TEAM. And as most of you know, we have a team with the Be Our Guest podcast, a running team, and we're called the Lizards. And a lot of people ask, what's the Lizards about? I got that question probably 5 or 6 different times at dinners and at meetups this weekend, and just folks that were in the crowds. I was standing there, what's that all about on your shirt? And I'll explain about the podcast, a bunch of Disney fans. We just like get talk Disney. And, we have a podcast where we have, it's communities on Discord. We have, we used to have message boards and we raise money for Give Kids the World throughout, over the years. We're just passionate Disney fans that support each other in many, many ways. We do ornament exchanges. We get together. It's amazing. But I talked about the running team, about how now we have over 2,700 people that are a part of the Facebook group who support each other on this fitness journey. And it's not all runners. While some of our runners are amazing on the team, I mean, have done amazing things. For example, Alan, he's one of our runners. Let me just explain what Alan has done. Alan lives out in Anaheim. I got to meet Alan this weekend at the Polynesian at our big meetup. Shout out to Joe Fickus, who put on a great meetup on Saturday over at the Polynesian. We played trivia. We had so many laughs. Everybody got together. It was a wonderful day. Joe, thank you for putting that on. But Alan came over. Let me tell you what's cool about Alan. Alan has run every single Disney marathon that they have Run Disney has ever put on. He is the only person to do that because there's 59 people that have run every Walt Disney World marathon. However, there was one Disneyland marathon and Alan ran that marathon as well. So Alan has run every Run Disney marathon on both coasts because he ran that one at Disneyland and all the Walt Disney World ones. So he came over to the meetup. He's a member of our running team. He sends me messages of support throughout the week, every week, especially since I hurt my knee back in September, always encouraging me. And for somebody who has been running for over 30 years of Walt Disney World marathons, never missed one. I mean, he's basically Run Disney royalty. He is Run Disney royalty. He is that he takes the time to worry about Mike Rallman in St. Peters, Missouri, just blows my mind. That he's that kind and that thoughtful to send me messages. That means the world to me. And so he came to our meetup and he got a sweet jacket from Run Disney for being a perfect runner. He got like a sash from Walt Disney for about Run Disney for being perfect. But he just came over and spent 10 or 15 minutes talking to me about my injury, about my running, talking about his experiences. It was such an honor. It was such an honor to get to have that time with Alan. So it was very cool. Just things like that. That's what a team is about. Now, I will tell you personally, since I hurt my knee, if you don't know, the way I used to train over the past 3 to 4 years, I would basically just go down to the treadmill every morning and I would knock out 13 miles in the morning. And that would basically be my training plan. And that's worked out really well for me up until this past fall. I've been able to run my distances, really not a lot of problems. I don't have to do that with that. I don't have to do long runs because well, I'm not running long. I'm running consistently medium distances. So doing the marathon once a year was never a problem, or a couple times a year. I mean, it hurt at like mile 20, but I could get there. So with my injury in September, I had to cut back. The doctor told me I had to cut back on the running. Like you just can't run that much each day. So I did, and now I'm only running on 4 days a week. I'm running on Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, and walking the other days. But what I'm doing is I'm walking a lot of miles on the other days, and I'm gonna have to cut that back too because I think that's hurting my knee. But anyway, this isn't about that. I knew I was in trouble when I got down there because my legs were shot. What I found out was that I didn't do any kind of a taper, and if you're not a runner, a taper is right, the week or 2 before a race, you really scale back your physical activity and let your legs rest so that they're fresh. But I have and I know I have a problem. I have a mental issue with I always feel like I need to be working. And if I'm not working, whether it's travel agent work or podcast work or, what have you, I'm mentally uncomfortable. So taper is super hard for me, and I've never ever done it intentionally. Now, I will say that last year at marathon weekend, I ran my best times ever in all 4 distances. I ran my best time ever in the 5, the 10, the half, and the full. But here's what happened. Last year before marathon weekend, I had a stomach bug and I was sick for about 7 to 10 days right before marathon weekend. I couldn't run and I could barely walk. I could barely get off the couch. And so before marathon weekend, I was a mess because mentally I was like, I'm not going to be prepared. I'm not getting in my last training runs. I'm not getting in any, I'm losing all my fitness. The opposite happened. When I got down there, I felt like I was a Ferrari. Like my legs had felt better than they'd ever felt. They were hot. They were popping. And I was able to just burn last year. Well, this year, I don't know why, but this year I was scared because I'd only been running 4 days a week instead of 7. So I was trying to compensate with all the walking. Try to walk as much as I try to make up those miles walking throughout the day because I'd walk in the morning, my 9 miles. Then I'd walk in, mid morning. I'd take a break on the treadmill. When I was making my phone calls to Disney, I'd be on the treadmill. In the afternoon, I'd be on the treadmill. In the evening, I would take Riley for a walk. So I was really, wearing myself out. And what had happened was I knew when I got even into the 10K on Friday, I was like, my legs are toast. They're toast. So I made it through the 5K and the 10K with decent times because I'm very competitive. I hate that, but I am. In about 2/3 of the way through the half marathon, I knew I was in trouble because my legs just they didn't have anything in them. I wanted to go faster and I couldn't. And my time just was going up and up and up. Finished the half marathon, but I was hurting. Not like breathing hurting, but just my legs were in trouble. So it's Saturday night. I didn't tell anybody, but I was totally a mess knowing that Sunday was going to really be bad. I didn't know if I was going to finish. And this was going to be really hard for me because I am not a quitter. I'm super hyper competitive and I always want my next effort to be better than my last. So with the fact that I had run personal best last year, and knowing that I did not run my personal best in the 5K, the 10K, or the half, and that it was getting progressively worse with each distance, and knowing how bad I felt on the half marathon, I was super worried about Sunday. But I was not gonna, I'm definitely not gonna quit. I'm definitely not gonna not start. So I get out there and give it my best effort, and I ran my normal pace for about the first 12 miles till we got to Animal Kingdom or so. And once I hit Animal Kingdom, the ground in the Animal Kingdom is wobbly. Like the pavement is not smooth like the Magic Kingdom ground. It's textured. And with my MCL issue, any kind of uneven pavement and also we were running a lot on slanted ground on these entrance and exit ramps. Since I'm always running on a treadmill, that's flat as a pancake, and it's easy for my knee to compensate for that. It's flat. There's no like you don't have to compensate for slant or for any kind of uneven pavement. But what I had to do during the race, and I never run outside, was deal with humidity, crowds, Like I said, the pavement being different and all that stuff. So I knew I ran my normal pace to about 12 miles, and then I was just like, I'm toast. And at that point, I did, my knees started just killing me. I did start to think like I don't want to keep going to the point where I can't walk and like I have to be like in a wheelchair to get to the airport because I'm by myself, right? I have to be able to take care of myself, be able to walk back to my room. I was in the 50s, last building at Pop. I had to be practical. So I made sure that I was like, okay, I'm just gonna, be smart about this. So I did start to walk and I ran some and I walked some. I did some running, walking, but it was super humbling to have to do that for the last 13 miles of the marathon. And it's okay. It was totally fine. And I learned a lot about myself. Every experience is a learning opportunity. And I always told this to my kids, but I think when you have to go through that, it it really does humble you and it makes you see things differently. And I appreciate everybody on our team who was so good to me on Sunday. Because there were a lot of times I was out there just by myself, and I prefer to run by myself. Let me say that. Let me say that. I prefer to run by myself, and Scott does too. We talk about this a lot because it takes a lot of energy to carry on a conversation with somebody while you're running. I can't do it. I can't. It takes way more energy to think, to converse, to talk, to physically talk, to adjust your speed with theirs. It's a lot. Like I like to just put on my podcast or put on my music and just go and not have to think and just zone out. So that's not a thing. But there were times, where I was that's the thing about running is a lot of times it's a solo adventure, but the demons were coming in, because you want to quit. It was hot that day. My knee was killing me, and because my knee was hurting, I was limping a little, and everything on my right side started to hurt because I was compensating for my left knee. So I was getting, all kinds of issues on the right side. I'm like, oh my god, what's this? Like, are you kidding me? And people are passing me. Last year I was picking people off left and right through the second half of the race, and I was just getting passed. Shoo, 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 shoo. And it was rough. But the thing was, I never went more than like 5 or 10 minutes without a "Go Lizards" or "Go Mike, you got this. You're gonna make it." And every one of those people physically gave me the strength to get to the finish line. Every time I saw one of our Volt or green shirts, they could have been coming from the other side of a switchback, from the other side of the road. Maybe I was going into Blizzard Beach, they were coming out. I was going into Animal Kingdom, they were coming out. George, early in the race, I was in trouble 4 miles in. He's like, Mike, you're not quite going as fast as you were yesterday. I was like, he's like, I'll hang with you the whole race. This is at mile 4. George is lightning fast. I said, George, you get out of here and go run your race. You're too kind, but go. I had many people say they would stay with me until the finish. You know what that means? These people have trained all year and they would give up their run to stay with me. That was humbling and it was special. So every race you learn a lot about yourself. And I learned a lot. And I've learned a lot about how I want to change my training going into Princess because that's in 6 weeks. It's only a half marathon, thank God. I couldn't do a full marathon again. I would be having nightmares right now. At least that's only 13. Got the 5 to 10 and the half. And then we got, thank God the spring surprise only has a 10 miler is the long run. I'm all about that right now. But, I'm a man of faith and, I think God gives you what you need at the time. And I think it was time for Mike to get a little humble pie and I got it. And I think we all need that sometimes. And it was good because I appreciated being a member of a team and being able to I've always enjoyed finishing the marathon and going back in and cheering for the runners. And I got to do that. I got to see Scotty G come in, which was awesome. Scott killed it. He was in, man, he was so happy when he came through. I was so dead when I went through World Showcase. I hardly remember it at this point. I was so out of it. Scott was he was so strong at the end of the race still going through World Showcase. I mean, he had a beer and 2 margaritas. So he was in good shape. I love Scott. But he was loving life. I was not loving life. But I love that. I didn't get to do as much of that this time because it took me so long to get in. But I won't forget this race. You can't. Some part of me wants to forget this race because it was, terrible time. Like, I don't want to see the time. I don't want to remember the stretch out by Coronado Springs where it was just, it's just fighting demons in my head, like quit, quit, quit. Just call it a day. At mile 22, just call it a day. But then somebody out of nowhere, go Lizards, across the road, go Mike, you can do this. You're almost there. And you kept going because that person cared enough to yell and care. And that's what being a part of the team is. And so now I want to make sure that I do my part every opportunity I get because we have an amazing team. And it's not just the Lizards, it's our community with our podcast. I've seen so many instances where people, not just the runners, but just listeners of our show, have met and helped each other out in many ways, with surprises for their kids or, can you get me this while you're down there because I'm out of the country, and you're going to be there and I won't get there for another 18 months. I love what we have here. I think Disney fans are special people because um, we believe in magic in a way. I mean, we know, but we believe in magic. And the thing is, we don't just believe in magic. I think that many, many times we make magic in the world because you can't tell me that wasn't magic that got me to that finish line on Sunday because I was so done. I was so done. But it's like, why was this person at mile 23 right at that moment when I needed somebody, when I was fighting those demons to quit, when it was hot and I was getting sunburned and I was I was done with running. And somebody was there right at that time to give me a lift. Somebody on our running team. Like what are the chances they would be there? Is that not magic? Is that not, I mean, and it was at Disney. I don't know. I know I've just rambled to you guys for 30 minutes and I didn't mean to do that because I'm not putting this out on the podcast episode. I feel more comfortable with our little group here. And I appreciate you lending me an ear and I hope you understand it. I know we always look for feedback for next week and here's what I would like from you for next week's feedback show. So I can throw it in for next Tuesday. Have you been in a situation like this where you get a curveball? Like I didn't go into the weekend. I knew this weekend wouldn't be awesome as far as times, but I didn't know it'd be this difficult. But have you found that in a way, I think looking back, I'm too close to it right now. I'm only a few days out. But I think in 6 months, I'm going to look back and say, what a blessing this weekend was. It let me see things from a different perspective. It let me see how awesome our team is from a different perspective. Because I never got the shout outs really because, if I was up in the front, I wasn't, seeing as many of our teammates. I saw a lot of teammates because I was at the very back this time. And it was glorious to see that love. I mean, there was so much love. People still texting me. Mike Bankhead texted me today. Mike, brother, I love you. I hope you're feeling okay because you didn't look good on the course. How cool is that? So just let me know if you had an experience like this. A humble pie because I got it served. But I think in the long run, it's for the better. You learn from every day. You learn from every day. As an athlete, you learn. I used to be a pitcher. You learn from every pitch. You learn from every start. And as a runner, you learn from every run. Some runs are awesome. You learn from those. Some runs are terrible, and you learn a lot more. I think from those. And so I'm going to try to learn and try to become a better, runner after this. But it's definitely made me a better person after Sunday. Absolutely. And it definitely makes me appreciate that I'm a part of a great team, the best team. So anyway, I hope you're having a great week and thanks for hanging out with me and thanks for supporting the show. I love having this show. I love having our community. You guys are the best. And I can't thank you enough for just being you. All right. So I'm going to duck out of here and we'll do this again next Tuesday. So we'll have some good shows for you this Wednesday. We have a fun one coming for you tomorrow. It's Wade, Scott, and I. One cast member, one question. We kind of switched it up. And then Friday, Scott and I'll recap Marathon Weekend for you with some thoughts there. All right, you guys stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you real soon. Thanks, Rob, and thanks, John. Yeah, it was rough, but you learn, right? We have an amazing team. We have the best team. But the important thing is I have that set of ears. That's why I didn't quit. I wanted my ears. I like the ears, I think, better than the medals. I told that to Scott. I love the ears. So now I have all my ears across the way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They've only given them out 5 times, and I have all 5. So there we go. But I'm not kidding. I would not have made it without teammates like we have because I was fighting the demons on the backside of that race. All right, got to go. Got to get back to work, and I will talk to you later.